morning? Good morning? Okay, sounds a very cliche way of starting, but it works when you want to check the mic, especially when you have the next speaker as Mike Murli. You want to check it, right? All right, thanks for inviting me. Really honored to be here as a speaker here. Um, first up, my really many thanks to Dr. Suchitra and Dr. Raj. It was very inspiring to know the kind of work that you all do. So happy to be sharing the stage with Mike Murli too. Let me start a little bit about myself. You can call me Ram. I work in GE Healthcare. Right? I'm a senior director of engineering. What I do on a daily basis is to develop software products that touch human lives. And what I do is all of us go through these medical tests, and it spits out certain kind of images. What I write is a software that analyzes all of these and then gets out certain clinical KPIs or operational KPIs to the hospitals, largely used for by the radiology team in the hospital, right? And I promise that will be the technical depth that I'll go in the next 30 minutes. I'll make it a bit lively and easy for you all to understand, right? Am I audible firstly? Okay, good. Like I said, I'm a native of Chennai. I was born and brought up there, did my schooling under the watchful eyes of my grandmas. And, but I've spent more than half my life in Bangalore, right? I came here for work in late 90s. And, both by education and profession, I'm a software professional. And I specialize in engineering leadership and software development. That's about me. For those who are curious to know what is that RA square that is, my theme of storytelling is going to go in the flow of some squares. On a lighter note, I don't like to go in circles. Okay, standard stuff. Clicker. You go up, you go down. Doesn't work. Okay, there it is. All right, so when Dr. Suchitra reached out to me to come and then address you all, I started to think about what sort of lessons that I have learned in my life. That is what I wanted to share with you all. Now, when I sat down to put down those thoughts, the first thing that hit me was, what did I learn? Right? After all, we all did our schooling, colleges, but here we are talking about life lessons. So it's not going to be from universities. It is going to be from based on my own personal experiences, right? When I started to, analyze where did I learn these from, there are largely four, let's say, channels of learning that I went through personally. The first one, is this is probably the best way to learn. You do it yourself. We are talking about conducting experiments, learning it all by yourself. You acquire a new skill, you put that to practice, and you learn, right? So fundamentally, you do it yourself, you learn. But very interestingly, and on a contrary basis, you don't do anything, you still learn, right? You don't do anything, you still learn. Sometimes it may sound a little funny. You all must have seen this 5-star ad. The guy sits there and does nothing. He gets some accolades from somebody. But, personally, if I've not done something, it has become a costly mistake in my own life. We will hear about that as well. So you do something, you learn. You don't do something, you learn. And that, these are two ways. And the third way that I figured out is, it's very popular and effective and inspiring way, is you learn from others. You see how others do certain things well, and you learn from that. I think largely we are looking up to our teachers or professors or mentors or your gurus to learn from them. Right? This is very interesting way and very inspiring way. It'll stick with yourself for a long time. And what do you guys want to guess? What's the fourth way? You do it, you learn. You don't do it, you learn. You learn from others when they do something. The fourth one is, any guesses? You learn, I'm sorry. Okay, there it is. Right. So you learn from others' mistakes, right? You've seen a lot of people do certain things and you see them fail. The easiest way and the cheapest way to learn based on what I think is you learn from others' mistakes. So you do, you learn. You don't do, you learn. You see others do, you learn. You see others don't do, you learn, right? So you will see these themes sort of flow through the rest of the slides. And that's probably why the RA square was also put in, right? So there is a square theme that I wanted to share with you all. Having said that, let's now start. I didn't mean the start of the life lessons here. This start is very relevant to you all here, right? We've got about what 1,000 people here, 500,000 people here, right? 1,500 people. So there are 1,500 people here who are going to graduate out and complete their graduation journey, and you're going to start or embark on a new journey. So the more important question here is, how do you start? Right? You all will have a purpose in your life, which is going to determine whether you're going to be landing into a job, or you want to be an entrepreneur running your own business, or interesting people could, let's say, choose a career in art, music, or whatever, or you may also want to become a sports person, whatever be it, right? No matter what you choose, based on your purpose, which is very important to have, the critical question to ask here is, how do you start, right? And that's the question that I all want you to think about. My learning, which I didn't have, like I said, you don't do something, you learn. That's the costly mistake. You have to strive for excellence. Let's say you choose to be a sports person, you have to be the world's best. That's the way you start, right? You have to start with a goal that reaches, there's no limit to it. You have to aim high and reach for the sky, right? Sometimes it may sound very standard problems with the clicker. Sorry for that. So it may sound a little odd or offbeat for you to think, hey, you know what, I'm going to start a career. I want to land in a job. What do you expect me? Do not do the same mistake that I did. There you see there. I personally did not have an extravagant goal of building software. And I just landed in this because I was kind of a happy-go-lucky guy, took a job, happily worked for some time. But then slowly I realized, of course, I had some time to pull back on those mistakes. I'm today proud of building some of critical applications and software products that are touching people's lives. They are as critical. Some of them in my previous work lives has been mission critical applications and stuff like that. So really proud of building, and you got to strive for that excellence. The thing that you don't want to do at this stage is to have some inhibitions and restrictions. Shed them off and open up and have more curious mind to try and achieve some things that nobody has ever tried to achieve. And that's how leaders are born. Okay. Now, I said I did not have such a high aim, but interestingly, one of my family member, obviously, had a very high goal for my own self, my grandma, right? I mean, when I was a very talkative young kid, and the elders in the home would usually, brush you off, and they would ignore you. But my grandma once told, that loosely translates as one day there will be 1,000 people listening to you, and today her prophecy has come true. Right? On that lighter note, I'm going to see these life lessons that I have personally learned through my grandma's lens. Okay? So let's move on. So now that you've started and you have a very high goal, what's next? Let's say you chose to be an entrepreneur. Okay? What's next? Which means you've achieved your goal. Start from, what's that? PCA. DCA. Okay. All right. Okay, so now that you have a goal and you've achieved, what do you do then? Looks like your life is complete? No. It looks like this empty screen. Why don't we start watching this movie? RRR? That's not what I mean. I mean a different RRR. I mean, neither this is an Oscar stage, nor are we going to watch RRR here. But the RRR I mean is, once you achieve a goal, reset the goal. You have to, the clicker has to be reset. You have to reset, restart, and refocus. Now, if you do not do this, there is a high chance that you will not only become stagnant, right? Not only be complacent, you will also become worse in what you are going to do. Because remember, what took you to this place is not going to take you to the next level. If you do not act on it and figure out those cues in your life, you're going to collapse like that building. Remember, when you start, have a goal, and once you achieve, you have to reset and restart all over again. Now, if you do not do this, you're going to be collapsing like that building. And what do you do in that time? You have to take another goal. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to start with a goal and be off target for some time until you achieve it, because in your new goal, you may not be as skilled as what you were in the last, but then it's okay to have a target and miss it by margins rather than not having a target and perish. And at that stage, you got to remember, you got to take some baby steps, one thing at a time, focus on one thing. I've showed this as learning from others. Dr. Raj talked about multidisciplinary. I had a personal learning on multifunctional skills. I started my career in certain domain. Over a period of time, I looked up a lot of mentors and picked up knowledge in multiple functions, right? That was a big learning for me. I mean, that may not be easy for you all to appreciate or understand, but look at, resetting goals from champion players like, let's say, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, or you can take, Federers and Nadals of the world. Once you hit a ball for 4, you don't rejoice. You have to start again for your next ball. That's the way they all prepare themselves. So champions always do this, resetting the goal and start all over again. Now that looks like a nice circular loop, right? I mean, you all have learned recursions. So it looks like, set the goal, reset the goal. Life seems to be set with this circle. But like I told you, I'm not a fan of circles. It's always square. So let's see what you do then. Okay. Oh, here. Okay. So there will be a point in your career that you'll have to do some introspection and reflection about yourself. Figure out the real me in yourself. Identify who you are. Identify who you are. Do that introspection and understand what you're made of. It's very important to do this, and there are plenty of tools available in the market, like for example, psychometric tests and a bunch of tools that are available. It'll tell you what you are, right? Now, what do you do with it? It's perfectly fine to go to a coach or a mentor or a person whom you look up to and bounce that, opinions about what you are to them and seek support. Remember, acceptance and submission are critical for self-realization. And once you realize yourself better, you're going to go further beyond than what the recent goal that you have set. That's utmost important. And at that stage, you may want to look up to a diverse set of team. You have to look for people of diverse culture, background, age, or demographics, whatever it is, to seek that support. Form a trustable team that helps you go forward and achieve to the next level. Now, let's take a simple example. I mean, I showed this is something that I learned from others' mistake. I'm going to talk about a champion player here. My own personal experience will come to it. But a champion player like Federer, who had achieved almost everything at the age of 28. He didn't have to prove anything to anybody. He had gone to a place in the tennis field that no other person has gone. But then slowly he started to slip. He started to not win Grand Slam titles. He started to lose crunch points. And he was slipping out. People did write him off. That's where the champion players come in. Remember, he put together a team at that time. And guess what the team members are? He's a male athlete. He put his first team member as his wife. And the second set is 4 young toddlers, 2 sets of twins. And the third is a very elderly person, his coach. And the fourth one was 2 young, rookie, completely ranked outside tennis players who were just coming up outside of 300, 400 ADB points. And you know what he discovered after that? He discovered what is popularly called as SABR, sneak attack by Roger, and started demolishing all the other players. And he would go on to win many more Grand Slams after that. Now, that is where the amount of introspection, understanding of your own self, your strengths and weakness, and critically reaching out for support. This is something that we traditionally shy away from. Remember, you don't have to solve all the problem all by yourself. form a trustworthy team of diverse background, and then get the job done, right? So on my own case, you're talking about introspection and stuff like that, and that's when my grandma comes to my mind, right? So that's the grandma prism. This is like, one day I come back from school, finishing my exam, but my face was filled with guilt of doing something wrong. And my grandma did not need a lie detector test or wires connected to my cell. A simple look, and she asked me, "Were you caught?" That was the only question she asked me. Were you caught? Yes, I was caught by helping somebody write something in their exam, and I was feeling very ashamed and guilty. It didn't take a minute for her to figure out what I am, what I went through, and they always have the best medicine to treat you. She kind of lightened me up, and guess what? We also went to a movie with a lot of friends that day, but what I will not tell you is what happened after my dad came home. Okay? So I think so if you really look back, you set your goals, right? Reach for excellence, reset your goals regularly, reflect on it. You keep doing this, you're more likely going to be at that stage of your career one of the best in what you're doing. It looks like there's nothing more to do. Everything seems to be going well, and you're going to be one of the best in what you're doing. What should you do now? Any guesses? And it'll be very counterintuitive. Huh? This one is a counterintuitive one. You disrupt yourself. It's not something that you would expect to do, but this is my own personal experience that I'd like to share here. You have to disrupt yourself. What do I mean by that? You have accumulated a lot of skills, strengths, practices, processes, which has taken you to that level, some level. You got to give up one of your strengths. Don't be foolish to give up all your strengths. Pick and choose. For example, I worked in the industry for about 20 years in communications and networking. I was kind of very well prepared in that domain. I was kind of sleepwalking through my programs. I asked this question, what do I have to give up? I didn't know. Then, when you look at the jungle, these jumbo elephants are there, and they are like, the king. They know everything, and there's nothing that can go wrong with them. What should that elephant do in the jungle if they have to disrupt? Ask the question if that elephant can walk this tightrope. Can you be agile? Can you be nimble? Can you be fast-footed? Can you fail fast? These are critical questions that I asked myself, and the first thing I gave up was to give up one of my core areas of strength, which was in the domain. And trust me, after that, I did pick up multiple, I wouldn't say multiple disciplines, because now I understand what is multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary. So I picked up multiple functionalities, right? And during that process, what happens is very interesting, right? You'll have to give up something. What does that mean? You have to unlearn certain things. You are going to go through a cycle of learn, unlearn, and relearn. This cycle kept my juices up. I was able to bank on some of the things that I have accumulated as my strength, but then giving up means I had to unlearn certain things. I had to relearn. I was able to connect certain analogies from communications domain on how, for example, let's say, your roaming works, the fundamentals of roaming, with an airlines industry of code share and interlining. They're very similar in nature. If you had not switched, you would not be able to do this. I had already solved the problem there. I could easily solve the problem here. These are things that I learned as I went along. And during that time, it is very important to adopt technology. What I also did as a part of that learning was, picked up new skills, cloud adoption, AWS, Azure, things like that, to make myself ready to take on that sort of a transition, right? And it's important to disrupt and reinvent yourself so that you stay relevant. Because what you don't want to do is for a tsunami to come and hit you, you lose your job or lose your business, and then twiddle your thumbs on figuring out what to do. Because you wouldn't even know what has hit you at that time. So it's better to be proactive and preempt yourself to disrupt, right? Now comes the grandma lens. Typically, you're all students. You've not gone through the experience of toddlers, but I was a toddler. You all were a kid at that, at some stage. You ask your parents, are they relieved if they don't have to go to a hospital that week? They'll say, hell yes. Because, there were 2-3 kids at that time. One or the other will fall sick, and you are continuously on this search for the hospitals and stuff like that. But when the kids are good, parents will be very relieved and that they don't have to do anything. But that's where the grandmas come in. They come with this small cup of castor oils and then feed you with few drops, and that will unplug the kid. That's called disruption. It's diarrhea. But then we've later understood that it's a good laxative agent. It kind of helps you do a detox and cleans up your stomach. That is, looks like the grandmas seem to have cracked all the lessons in life. After all, they are very experienced. So I was imagining, if the successful management authors have to write books about grandma, what would they write? On a lighter note, maybe grandmas eat lost, 7 great grandma habits. Start with a grandma, or life lessons of successful grandmas, right? Okay, jokes apart, I'd like to leave you all with this one final thought. You all are going to graduate out of the college and kind of come to an end of your student journey. This is another counterintuitive lesson. Do not stop learning. Your learning has to be continuous. You have to be a lifelong student and learn things. And when you learn things, what you have to do is, you have to stay, okay, here. So you got to be humble and confident. To me, if you're staying very humble, grounded, you'll be able to achieve things. And you got to be confident to face the world in the current industry to achieve more success in your life. And when you do this, let's face it, life is full of mysteries. No amount of life lessons from people like me are going to help you. That was my lesson. You create your lesson. And it's important for you to be very active listening as you go through your life or career, for you to understand what works for you, right? And when you do that, you have to be very authentic. Be true to yourself. That is something that will guarantee you, I wouldn't call success, but I would say that will guarantee the best performance out of you, right? Remember, and the last message, no prizes for guessing. Grandmas rock, okay? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a pleasure here. Those are my summary for learnings, and happy to share the content with you guys later. Thank you.